When Brenda Pacheco put her car in neutral and released the brake, she was stunned by what happened next. The car began moving on its own, crossed the railroad tracks, and reached the safety zone. But the real shock came when she stepped out and looked at the back of her car. Tiny children's handprints were everywhere. "I was so excited," says Brenda. "I checked the back of my car, and there they were. Tiny handprints, clear and distinct, and so very small. The prints were so perfect you could see the palm lines and the swirls of the fingerprints." But Brenda's experience isn't unique. For the past 80 years, thousands of people have claimed to experience the same phenomenon on Shane Road in San Antonio. Today, I'm sharing one of America's most famous urban legends with you. The story of San Antonio's ghost children. The tale of little spirits who continue to help even after death. Innocent souls who could never find peace after a tragic accident. This isn't just a ghost story. It's also a story of compassion, sacrifice, and love that even death cannot stop. San Antonio, Texas. In this city considered the heart of South America, where historic missions and modern life intertwine, there's an ordinary street called Shane Road. At the intersection of Via Mine and Shane, right near the San Juan Mission, there's an ordinary spot where railroad tracks cross. During the day, this is just a normal neighborhood intersection. But when the sun sets, local residents know this place as the haunted railroad tracks. And for over 80 years, they've claimed extraordinary events occur at this ordinary intersection. The story always begins the same way. Someone parks their car on the railroad tracks, puts it in neutral, and waits. Then the car begins moving on its own, crosses the tracks, and reaches safety. And the most striking detail, tiny children's handprints are left on the back of the car. But how is this possible? Every person living in San Antonio knows this story. Parents bring their children, young people come seeking thrills, tourists travel thousands of miles to experience it. Because here, invisible little hands supposedly push cars to protect people from danger. But the origins of this story are much more tragic and heartbreaking. Late 1930s or early 1940s, no one knows the exact date, but according to local accounts, an ordinary school evening turned into life-changing tragedy. That evening was particularly dark. A young nun was driving school children home from a field trip. The bus was a small vehicle, the standard model commonly used for school services at the time. Inside were approximately 10 children, most sleeping from exhaustion. As they slowly drove along Shane Road, the nun was careful not to wake the children. They had enjoyed themselves all day, and it was time to go home. But as they approached the railroad crossing, the bus suddenly stopped. The engine died. The nun tried turning the key, but nothing happened. The bus had stopped right on the railroad tracks. The nun tried not to panic, attempting to solve the problem without waking the children. She turned the key again and again. The engine would sometimes make sounds as if it might start, but it just wouldn't run. Just then, a train appeared from the darkness. But this train's headlight wasn't working. That's why the nun noticed it too late. The train was approaching rapidly, and it was impossible to stop now. The nun desperately turned the key one last time. She could have woken the children and tried to get them to safety, but it was too late for that. The train was only seconds away. And the collision happened. The train cut the school bus in half. The nun was thrown through the windshield. She was severely injured, but alive. The children weren't so fortunate. They all died at the scene. While the nun was being treated in the hospital, she kept having the same nightmare. The fear and helplessness the children experienced in their final moments. She blamed herself. If I had acted faster, if I had been more careful, she kept thinking. Her physical wounds took months to heal, but her spiritual wounds never healed. A few weeks after the accident, the nun was discharged from the hospital. But holding on to life was very difficult. She couldn't sleep at night, constantly heard the children's voices, and kept thinking about their final moments. Guilt was eating her alive. They died because of me, she constantly thought. If I had been more careful, they would be at home with their families now. One evening, she couldn't bear it anymore. She decided she would die in the same place in the same way. She drove to Shane Road in her car. She parked right on the railroad tracks and began waiting. She was waiting for the next train to come. Half an hour later, the sound of a train whistle came from the distance. The nun had found peace now. My children, I'll be with you very soon, she thought. The train was approaching. It came closer. Its light was now illuminating the nun's car. Just then, small voices came from behind the car. No, sister, don't leave. Don't abandon us. Small children's voices. The voices of the nun's students. And at that moment, the car began to move, as if pushed by invisible hands. It slowly moved away from the tracks and slid to the safety zone. The train thundered by. The nun stepped out of her car in shock. She looked around. No one was there. But on the back of her car, on the bumpers, there were small handprints. Children's handprints. At that moment, she understood. The children had died, but they hadn't left. They were still there, and they were protecting her. As the nun drove home that night, she had found new meaning in her life. The children had shown her their deaths weren't her fault, and she still had much work to do. The next year, she opened a school for orphaned children in the city. She taught there until the end of her life. And she never forgot. Those children had given her life back to her. But the children's story didn't end there. Word of the nun's experience spread throughout the town. At first, no one believed it. But then, other people began having similar experiences. The first testimony came just a few months after the accident. Robert Martinez, a local man, was driving through Shane Road late at night. His car was running out of gas, and the nearest gas station was several miles away. Just as he reached the railroad crossing, his car stopped. The gas had run out. The engine wouldn't work. Martinez panicked. It was midnight. No one was around, and the sound of a train whistle began coming from the distance. God, I'm going to share the same fate as the nun, he thought. But then the car began to move, on its own. Slowly it crossed the tracks and reached safety. Martinez got out and examined his car in amazement. On the back were small handprints, just like the nun had described. From that day forward, Martinez's life changed. He told everyone the story, and other people decided to try it too. Maria Gonzalez's experience. I wanted to learn if the children were really there. I covered the back of my car with baby powder so the prints would show more clearly. Then I parked on the tracks and waited. 5 minutes later, the car began to move. It wasn't in gear. I had the brake on, but it still moved. After crossing the tracks, I got out to check. On the baby powder were tiny handprints. They were so clear, I could even see the fingerprints. James Thompson's surprising experience. I was very skeptical. I didn't believe these stories. My friends convinced me to go. I said, "I'll prove these nonsense stories aren't real." I parked my car on the tracks and waited with the engine running. "Let's see what happens now," I thought mockingly. Then strange sounds began coming from behind the car, like children's laughter. But there was no one around. Then the car began to be pushed. The engine was running, but it moved forward as if someone was pressing the gas. That night completely changed my beliefs about ghosts. These events happened in the 1940s, but the story didn't stay there. As generations passed, the phenomenon grew stronger. Throughout the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s, the Shane Road phenomenon became an integral part of San Antonio. Now it wasn't just local people. People from across the country began coming. Jennifer Walsh's detailed testimony, 1998. I was a college student and decided to go with my friends. We were very curious, but also scared. When we arrived at Shane Road at midnight, the atmosphere was very strange. There was silence, but at the same time, it felt like thousands of eyes were watching us. I parked my car on the tracks and put it in neutral. At first, nothing happened. We started thinking, maybe the legend is just a legend. But then, suddenly, the car began to move. We couldn't believe it. It started moving on its own and crossed the tracks. We all screamed, from both fear and excitement. We got out and checked the back. There were small handprints. But the most surprising part was, the prints were visible even without baby powder. The marks they left on the bumper were so clear, we took pictures. Technology age activity. With the 2000s, people began bringing phone cameras and digital cameras, and they began getting surprising recordings. Sarah Chen's video recording, 2003. When I went with my friend, I was filming with my phone. When the car started moving, you can hear me shouting, "Oh my God, it's really moving!" on camera. But the really interesting part was the sound recording. When we watched the video again at home, we noticed there were children's voices in the background. Laughter, whispers. We hadn't heard them at the time. We had sound experts analyze it. They were also surprised. There are at least 6 to 7 different children's voices, and these aren't natural, they said. Michael Rodriguez's thermal camera experience, 2007. I'm a researcher, and I went to Shane Road with a thermal camera. Normal cameras usually don't capture anything, but we could get different results with thermal. When the car started moving, I saw something shocking on the thermal camera. Behind the car, there were very cold areas, human-shaped cold areas, and they were moving. It was like invisible children were pushing the car. We could see it clearly on thermal, but with normal eyes, there was nothing there. Shane Road isn't limited to just car-pushing events. Over the years, many different types of activity have been reported. The little girl by the roadside, 1952. Mrs. Dorothy Williams was driving through Shane Road late one night. As she approached the railroad crossing, she saw a little girl standing alone by the side of the road. I immediately stopped and opened my car door. "Sweetie, what are you doing here at this hour? Let me take you to your family's house," I said. The little girl got in the car, but didn't speak at all. Dorothy asked for the address, and the girl pointed in a direction with her hand. We went a few blocks and stopped in front of a house. The girl seemed reluctant to get out and go inside. I thought she must have run away from home after a fight with her parents, so I told the girl I would talk to her mother. When I got out of the car, when I turned around to give the girl a reassuring smile, the girl was gone. The car was empty. but the seatbelt was still fastened. The Ghost with the Teddy Bear, 2015. A young woman named Ashley Martinez took many photos when she went to Shane Road with friends. We were just taking normal trip photos. We didn't see anything different. But when I emailed the photos to my mom at home, my mom was very surprised. In one photo, there was a little girl. She was holding her teddy bear and looking directly at the camera. There was no one there when we took that photo, and that little girl's clothes looked very old-fashioned, like from the 1940s. The photo went viral on the internet. Digital photo analysis experts examined it and confirmed there was no manipulation. The parakeet's reaction. A woman went to Shane Road with her newly bought parakeet. The bird normally chirped very cheerfully, but when we got near the tracks, it suddenly became silent. It made no sound at all. When I parked the car on the tracks, the bird began acting frightened. It was flapping its wings in its cage as if scared. When the car began moving, the bird completely froze. It didn't move at all. But when we reached the safety zone, it started chirping again. I believe animals can sense spirits, and that night my bird definitely sensed something. Since the mid-2000s, the Shane Road phenomenon has become known worldwide thanks to the internet. YouTube videos, blog posts, and social media shares have brought people from all over the world. Television programs. Popular TV shows like Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Witness, and Most Haunted featured Shane Road. Zach Bagans, our experience in San Antonio was shocking. We got unexplained readings on our equipment. The detector kept spiking, and we captured children's voices on our recording device. The most striking moment was when our car actually moved. The camera was on, and everything was recorded. The car slowly crossed the tracks while in neutral gear, with the brake on. This was one of the clearest evidence of supernatural force. International visitors. Shane Road has become a place visited not just by Americans, but by enthusiasts from around the world. Hiroshi Tanaka. I'm interested in events in Tokyo, and I had heard a lot about Shane Road. The 12-hour flight was worth it. The experience was even more shocking than I expected. When my car started moving, I shouted, "I can't believe it," in Japanese. I have video recording, and it went viral in Japan, too. Maria Fernandez. I'm a group leader in Madrid. Shane Road was like a holy grail for us. When we came as a group, we experienced the same phenomenon in 3 different cars. I gave an interview on Spanish television. Scientific research attempts. Dr. Patricia Hernandez, we wanted to examine the Shane Road phenomenon with scientific methods. We conducted a comprehensive study in 2018. We did electromagnetic field measurements, seismic activity tests, and psychological evaluation. The results were surprising. We detected non-natural electromagnetic anomalies in the area. Especially during night hours and right over the railroad tracks, readings weren't normal. But the most interesting finding was the psychology tests. 89% of participants showed the same emotional responses: sadness, compassion, and protective instinct. We couldn't find a scientific explanation, but the phenomenon is definitely real. Despite the Shane Road phenomenon being so widespread and consistent, there's a serious problem. There are no official records. Police records. No records related to a school bus accident on Shane Road can be found in the San Antonio Police Department archives. No such accident was reported in the 1930s, 1940s, or any other period. Police Chief Robert McKenzie, 2010 to 2020. Our department investigated this matter many times because questions kept coming. We searched all traffic accident reports from 1925 to today. We couldn't find a fatal train accident on Shane Road, but we still get police calls to that area at night. People report activity. Officers are generally skeptical, but some say they've seen weird things. School records. No records exist in the San Antonio Independent School District archives either. No official record can be found of children killed in a school bus accident or a nun during that period. Hospital records. No railway accident survivors can be found in the emergency records of the city's hospitals from 1930 to 1950 either. How is this possible? This situation can be explained in several ways. 1. Lost records. Records from 80 years ago may have been lost over time. Record keeping wasn't as systematic in those days. 2. Private transport. Maybe the bus wasn't an official school bus, but a privately organized trip. In that case, there might not be official reports. 3. Cover-up theory. Some conspiracy theorists believe the incident was hushed up, especially since religious institutions were involved. 4. Evolution of legend. The story may have changed over time and been transferred to San Antonio from somewhere else. The most logical theory about the origins of the Shane Road legend is based on a real tragedy that occurred in Salt Lake City in 1938. December 1, 1938, Salt Lake City accident. There were terrible blizzard conditions in Utah. A school bus was trying to get more than 20 students, ages 12 to 18, to their homes. The snowstorm was so bad that visibility was almost zero. The bus driver lost his way at the railroad crossing, and the bus got stuck on the tracks. Just then, a 50-car freight train came. The driver tried to evacuate the children, but weather conditions were too bad, and there wasn't enough time. The collision was horrific. Every person on the bus, more than 20 children and the driver, died instantly. This tragedy made headline news across America. Newspapers wrote about this story for weeks. Theory. Some researchers think that news coverage of the Salt Lake City tragedy was absorbed into San Antonio folklore over time. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, Folklore Studies, UT San Antonio. Urban legends often migrate between communities. News stories can transform into local legends over generations. The Salt Lake City accident is real and documented. The San Antonio story isn't documented, but contains very similar details. This can't be a coincidence. It's possible that families who migrated to San Antonio in the 1940s brought the story and adapted it locally. But this theory doesn't explain everything. Physical evidence. Cars really do move, and handprints appear. This can't be explained by psychological suggestion. Consistency. Thousands of different people have experienced the same phenomena over 80 years. Mass hallucination can't be this consistent. Technology age phenomena. Modern equipment also gives abnormal readings. This isn't a 1940s legend, but real activity. Animal reactions. Animals also react. Animals aren't that susceptible to suggestion. Today, Shane Road has become a kind of modern pilgrimage site. People come not just to experience phenomena, but also to show respect to the children's spirits. Traditional gifts. Visitors leave various gifts for the children's spirits. Toys. Toy cars, dolls, balls. Flowers, especially gardenias and white lilies. Religious items. Crucifixes, rosary beads, holy water. Food. Candy, cookies, sandwiches. Personal items. Children's drawings, letters, photographs. Fresh flowers and toys are constantly found near the tracks. Local authorities try to clean them up, but new ones always appear. Messages to the children. People write messages on the railroad tracks with chalk. Rest in peace, angels. Thank you for protecting us. We remember you. Find your peace. Angels watching over us. Modern rituals. Specific rituals have developed over the years. Baby powder ritual. Covering the back of the car with baby powder, prayer circle, praying in groups. Midnight vigil. Coming exactly at midnight. Photo documentation. Systematic photography for digital evidence. Sound recording. Trying to capture children's voices. Family visits. Surprisingly, families who have lost children also visit Shane Road. Susan Thompson lost her 6-year-old daughter. After my daughter died from leukemia, it was very difficult. When I come to Shane Road, I feel closer to her spirit somehow. The spiritual presence of the children here is very strong. It's as if they welcomed my daughter there. Whether the car really moved or not doesn't matter to me. I feel a spiritual connection, and that gives me peace. Teen rite of passage. For teenagers in San Antonio, going to Shane Road has become a kind of rite of passage. Maria Santos, 17 years old. In high school, everyone has to go to Shane Road. It's like a matter of honor. Go and see if it's real or not. We go in friend groups. It's a bit scary, but also a bonding experience. We all experience the same weird thing. Various explanations have been proposed for the Shane Road phenomenon, from scientific to supernatural. Scientific explanations. 1. Gravity and road incline. Some skeptics argue that Shane Road has a slight downhill gradient and cars naturally roll. Engineer Mike Chin. We did a survey, and there really is minimal incline. But this doesn't explain why cars move uphill over tracks, why movement stops exactly after tracks. Handprint phenomena. 2. Magnetic anomalies. Underground mineral deposits can create strong magnetic fields and affect metal vehicles. Geologist Dr. Sarah Williams. There are iron ore deposits in the area, and we got unusual magnetic readings. But magnetic force works in random directions, doesn't create consistent push feeling. Can't explain handprints. 3. Psychological suggestion. Mass hysteria and the power of suggestion are powerful psychological phenomena. Psychologist Dr. Robert Martinez. When people expect experiences, the brain can perceive them. But physical car movement is objective fact. Handprint evidence is real. Animal reactions can't be explained by psychological suggestion. Supernatural explanations. 1. Residual hauntings. Traumatic events can leave psychic imprints and continuously replay. Researcher Dr. Amanda Foster. Extreme emotional trauma can imprint on environments. The children's protective instincts were so strong that they continue even after death. 2. Intelligent spirits. The children's souls are consciously trying to protect people. Medium Sarah Rodriguez. These children's spirits are very active and aware. They stay there with a specific mission, to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Conclusion. Despite 80 years of investigation, there's no definitive answer. The phenomena is too consistent and documented to dismiss, but scientific explanation remains elusive. Maybe the exact nature of the answer isn't important. Maybe the important thing is the idea that compassion and protection can survive death. The story of Shane Road isn't just a ghost story. It's also the story of the purest form of human compassion. If the legend is real, these children continue protecting others even after death. Their innocence and selflessness transcends death. If the legend is a psychological phenomenon, it reflects humanity's need for protection and community. People want to believe that guardian angels exist. In either case, Shane Road is a powerful reminder. Beauty can emerge from tragedy. Hope can emerge from loss. Modern-day impact. The Shane Road phenomenon has become part of San Antonio's identity. Local businesses organize ghost tours, sell souvenirs, and preserve the story as part of cultural heritage. But most importantly, the story is passed down through generations. Grandparents tell grandchildren, and the tradition continues. Are the children at Shane Road real? Science couldn't give a definitive answer. But maybe the real question is the message of this story real? Protection, compassion, and selfless love. These are real. And if Shane Road inspires people to remember them, the truth of the story doesn't matter. Every night, people come to Shane Road. Some believers, some skeptics, but all with the same hope. The hope of seeing that innocence and goodness can survive death. And maybe, just maybe, little invisible hands are really there, protecting and caring, continuing to guard with love. 80 years later, the children are still waiting, still protecting, still reminding us. Even the greatest tragedies cannot destroy the human spirit. Shane Road teaches us that sometimes the greatest protection comes from unexpected places. Sometimes guardian angels appear in the form of small children. And sometimes love is so strong that even death cannot stop it. Have you heard this legend before? Share your thoughts in the comments. And under the Urban Legends umbrella, let's bring the immortal legends of the mortal world to light together. If you believe this urban legend deserves to be heard more, don't forget to like and share. Every legend gives us the opportunity to meet the soul of the city where it belongs. A new urban legend is coming soon. Until then, keep your heart open. Don't dismiss the ground you step on as just dirt, and remember, sometimes the greatest legends might be right beside you. Mortal world, immortal legends.